younger man, I was a sculptor, a painter, and a musician. There was just one problem. I wasn't very good. As a matter of fact, I was dreadful. I finally came to the frustrating conclusion that I had taste and style, but not talent. I knew my limitations. We all have our limitations, Freddie. Fortunately, I discovered that taste and style were commodities that people desired. Freddie, what I'm saying is, know your limitations. You are a moron.
Thank you, Amaryllis. I'm afraid I'm going to have to employ your services a lot earlier than normal on this autonomous lounge because in 2 hours, my house is going to be besieged by 3 10-year-olds and 4 16-year-olds as there's going to be a party at the house. So pour 'em fast. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Autonomous Lounge. Going to go ahead and make this quick. I wanted to do the parenting episode finally, part one. Part one is just the intro, where I'm going to be talking about parenting probably in the next 3 autonomous lounges from a radical left parent perspective. And I want to thank everybody for their feedback on my last 2 videos, specifically the voting episode. I feel like the voting episode was very important for me personally and politically because 20 years ago, in a million years, I never would have imagined myself voting. The politics that I had 20 years ago, by the way, is what some people would call infantile leftism or ultra-leftism. And ultra-leftism is a very alienating form of politics against the people around you and the community that you're trying to win over. I wasn't coming out of the apathetic, it doesn't really matter, it's all rigged. I know it's rigged, but only in terms of who the ruling class want to be president. Doesn't mean it's impossible for us to put who we want in a position of power. And also, voting is not the only tool. As I said in that video, I think that we should vote for who we want to vote for. Now, the Democrats and the liberals have been pushed so far to the right, in my opinion, that someone like Bernie Sanders comes along and makes him a plausible candidate. And so, yes, I will be supporting him this time around, which says a lot because I didn't even vote for Obama. I voted for Cynthia McKinney. I wanted her to be the first black president. And she was on the Greens Party's ticket. And I had changed parties just in the nick of time to be able to cast my vote for her in 2008. It's not that I didn't want a black president. In my deepest opinion, he wasn't the black president I wanted. I wanted a black radical one, and he is not it, and has proven me right. That's a separate episode. If people are interested, I'd be more than happy to do that episode. The way I see it, he is indeed a chocolate Clinton. He may not have jailed as many African Americans as they have done, but that is the case. I will be voting independent if Sanders does not win this primary. So I want to be very clear about that as well. Voting does not hinge upon social change. It is a form of social change, as well as protesting, as well as building a mass movement. Now, a little bit of house cleaning. I'm going to do, as I've said before, who are the pro-blacks episode, but I'm putting it on the back burner. And the reason why I'm doing it is because I've amassed way too many sources, way too many things in the timeline that I wanted to present in the video that it has gone way bigger than it needs to be. I need to trim the information down. I've already trashed episode 1 and 2 because of it. It's not about the length of the video. Respectability politics would have been almost an hour long if I have not cut it down at the 4 episodes. That's not the problem. It's just, I don't really want to bore you guys. And 2, I just really have too much stuff. It's such a thing as just overdoing things and just over data. I guess it's not a real term, but I'm going to make it mine. I just really felt like it was just going to be too much. So I had to cut that down. Now, let us go on into one last house cleaning item. Don't want anyone also to think that my last episode in dealing with the 2 individuals who come out of the so-called sector or the so-called black sector, because I did say a month ago that I was no longer going to be doing those kind of videos focusing on those kinds of people. And I really still feel like I've kept my word. What we're dealing with are 2 people who straddle or who strive to straddle those worlds between the political, wanting to be political YouTubers, and at the same time, with one leg and then with the other leg, they've got it sitting in the sector. I feel that both of these men are not capable of doing political videos, and they should just stick to sector stuff. It's the only time they really seem to get a lot of views, and they should just stick with what they know. They really should. That is not even a diss. I've bitten my tongue for the past week now because the gentleman from Texas who I was actually addressing in the last video, feels like he can berate other YouTubers because they choose not to vote. Again, New Possibilities did a way better job at that. All he was saying was that he was laying out the sacrifices that were done historically, and that it's a difference between people telling others not to do it. It's one thing when people just don't have that sentiment, they don't want to do it, and everyone has a reason. But then there's another reason telling people or even shaming people and they're not voting. Going back to the gentleman from Texas, he feels that he can go around and berate people in his videos. And it's one thing to bring up political points and to use people as an example to make a political point. It's another thing to just bully people. The other gentleman who hides behind the ape mask is indeed nothing but a bully. He makes whole videos where he either goes after men in the sector, which is really no real challenge at all. But obviously he does it because he feels like he's smarter than them. It's really what we call one-upmanship is what he's doing with them. When it comes to the other videos, they seem to be dedicated towards women and getting women to think the way he thinks they should think. And he does it in a very aggressive kind of way. He makes these videos with these sexual undertones to them. This weird S&M kind of play on words in a way of trying to dominate and get them to do what he wants them to do. You're not smart enough. And you have no real political viewpoints presented. And when people try to get you to explain them, you then turn around and say, look at what I said. Well, we did look at what you said. We want to further here. I'm trying to get you to expound on what your position is because it's not very clear. And then he basically just walks away. He doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. That's the reason why, again, I could not hold my tongue anymore. I had to come out and I had to teach these assholes and stop them from misleading people. They said some things that definitely went in the vein of what New Possibilities was saying, and some of their points were valid. I'm not going to deny that.